This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Ondo State Governor Akeredolu returns from medical leave. Christian Association of Nigeria advises Nigerians on peace over tribunal judgments. Atiku Obi plan appeal over presidential election judgments. Rep summons Finance Minister over failed mass transportation. Gabon coup leaders free ousted President Ali Bongo. Singer Thames wins El Hip Hop Awards. Sao Tome arrive Uyo for Super Eagles clash. Thank you for staying with us on the Global News tonight. Here is our bulletin in full. The Minister of State for Labor and Employment, Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha, has described her victory at the National Assembly Election Petition Tribunal in Umuahia, Abia State, as ordained by God. While dedicating the victory to her constituency, she said there are true heroes of democracy even in the face of intimidation. The minister said the outcome of her petition at the tribunal was a natural result of the selfless work snatched away from her people through the back door. This is coming after the National Electoral Petition Tribunal in Umuahia nullified the election of Amobi Ogar of the Labour Party, representing Isukwato Umunnoji Federal Constituency. The three-member panel of the tribunal sacked Ogar on two grounds: not complying with the provisions of the Electoral Act and for failing to prove that he won the election from the results declared, tabulated, and presented before the court. While reacting further, Onyejocha, in a statement by her special advisor on media and publicity, Gabriel Imama, described the outcome of her petition at the tribunal as natural. Meanwhile, Onyejocha has commended the judiciary for rising up to the occasion despite countless attempts to intimidate and blackmail the last hope of the common man, and thanked her supporters for keeping faith with her and promised to remain a good servant to the people. The Lagos State Police Command in Lagos has arrested two people suspected of being involved in the killing of a truck driver in the Mile 2 area of the state. The command spokesperson, SP Benjamin Hundain, who confirmed the arrest, said the truck had been towed to the Lagos State Transport Management Agency yard in Oshodi. This is coming after there were unconfirmed reports that men of the allegedly killed a yet-to-be-identified person in Mile 2 along the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, which led to protests by some people who set up bonfires on the ever-busy road. He said the motorboy of the truck was also injured and was receiving treatment at an undisclosed hospital. Ondo State Governor Rotimi Akeredolu has arrived Nigeria from his medical vacation in Germany. The governor left the country some months ago for medical treatment in Germany and was said to have returned to the country on Thursday. The news of his return was confirmed on the X handle of his wife, Betty Akeredolu, showing his picture in an airplane. Also, the Ondo State House of Assembly Majority Leader, Mr. Wale Ogunmolos Lasuyi, confirmed Akeredolu's arrival, adding that the governor was already in his Ibadan residence. Suspended Rector of Osun State Polytechnic, Ire, Dr. Tajuddin Detayo, has resumed duty after a court ruling. Suspension was made known by the state government in a letter signed by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education, Kehinde Jimo, after Odetayo was suspended for gross misappropriation of funds and abuse of office. Kehinde Alabi, a lecturer in the institution, was appointed as acting rector in his place. In his reaction, the local chapter of the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics, which suspended academic activities, said that Alabi, who was appointed in an acting capacity, did not qualify for the position, while the students of the institution also protested, demanding a resumption of academic activities. Confirming the development, the Osun Poly chairman, Dr. Ezekiel Alabi, said that Odetayo's resumption is as a result of the decision of the National Industrial Court, Ibadan Division, reinstating him as rector while expressing hope that the state government would do the rule of law and appear for the notice of hearing that would be held on October 10, 2023. Ogun State Governor Dakbo Abiodun has congratulated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima on their resounding victory at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The tribunal, in a unanimous decision, upheld the victory of Tinubu in the February 25th presidential election as announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. In a statement, the governor said the tribunal's verdict was an affirmation of the trust reposed in the president by Nigerians as evidence in the outcome of the presidential election, and described the judgment as sound, detailed, and comprehensive, noting that the judges displayed unmatched courage in the discharge of their duties. He also said it is heartwarming that the tribunal judges did not succumb to intimidation by the opposition, who deployed various antics to sway the judgment in their favor. Kaduna State Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend John Joseph Hayab, has called on Nigerians to allow the rule of law to take its course in the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Speaking to newsmen in Kaduna State, the CAN chairman urged Nigerians to have respect for the judicial system for the interests of peace and harmonious coexistence of the country, and equally urged that politicians and all Nigerians to accept the judgments of the tribunal. The cleric also urged politicians to recognize the spirit of sportsmanship, where there is always going to be a winner and a loser, and fashion ways of embracing and resolving problems rather than being confrontational that would lead to wanton destruction of lives and properties. President of Zamfara State Students Association of Nigeria Federal University, Gusau, Comrade Haliru Ibrahim, is not particularly happy that over 2,565 students cannot continue their studies due to school fees hike. He disclosed this at the university, the state's capital, while urging Governor Dawood Lawal and other stakeholders to make necessary arrangements to assist indigenous students. He further said the removal of few subsidies and current hardship play an important role in students dropping out, especially at the Federal University Gusau, and urged the students to get part-time jobs to support their education. Troops of Operation Harderin, Daji, a component of the military troops, have rescued 6 kidnapped victims and recovered 11 operational motorcycles from the ravaging bandits operating in the state, in Zamfara State. According to a statement issued in Gusau by the Assistant Director, Army Public Relations, Captain Yahaya Ibrahim, the troops have continued to intensify operations against the marauding bandits in the northwest zone of Zamfara, Kebbi, Katsina, and Sokoto, respectively. The Army spokesman said that all the rescued victims were successfully reunited with their families, while Major General Godwin Mutkot has commended the resilience and commitment of troops. According to the statement, the Army General charged the troops not to relent in their efforts and called on the people of the region to be very vigilant and to immediately report any suspicious movement of persons to the security agencies. Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang says his administration is committed to strengthening public institutions to minimize waste and ensure quality service delivery to the people. He said the time had come to create viable institutions to guarantee good governance and avoid wastage of scarce resources, adding that the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning is central to all ministries, departments, and agencies of government, while declaring open a 5-day retreat and training for 25 staff members of the State's Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning in collaboration with Olive Consulting Group, titled The Green Cap Vision and the 7-Point Policy Thrust for Inclusive Budgetary and Engagement. Governor Caleb expressed the need to streamline all the line of activities discovered, including overlaps and a lot of the duplications, which are totally unnecessary, which has affected a lot of the budgeting processes. Similarly, the coordinating officer of Olive Edge Consulting Group, Mrs. Yuritimwa Goyo, in her opening remarks, said this is a unique platform for networking with peers from MDAs, stressing that the diversity of experiences and perspectives that will be unearthed during the retreat will double as assets and conduits for interactive learning and cross-functional collaboration. Nigeria Labour Congress has described the participation of its affiliate unions in the just concluded 2 days warning strike as a show of undaunted and resilient commitment to defend Nigerian workers and citizens against man-made economic hardship. A press statement signed by its president, Comrade Joe Ajero, reads, "What we write to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our dedicated affiliates, state councils, and esteemed members for their unwavering support and active participation in the recent 2-day nationwide warning strike." While reacting to developments on Society Watch, social commentator Weke Emmanuel Onyeka expressed concerns over the effectiveness of the strike by the Nigerian Labour Congress to get the attention of the federal government and the ruling class.
The problem right now is not the strike. NLC is responding to a strange way of running affairs of a country. But another thing is, when you look at the posture of these individuals you are striking to get their attention, are they bothered? That is another question. Because, like banks, only very few banks opened for 2 days. The real people will only put up a call to the bank manager, and the bank manager will send the money to their households and say, "Thank you, sir." And if you continue to do this for 1 month, that is how they will do it. They will just call managers of superstores to bring items for them, and they will willingly do so. So, why I'm saying this, if it's a normal, conscious leadership, we will see a situation where they'll be pricked that people are suffering, and they'll begin to respond and call labor.
Dr. Weke Emmanuel Onyeka also criticized the federal government over its handling of the palliatives because what was being done was nowhere enough.
This shouldn't be an LC issue. It should be a general Nigerian thing. All Nigerians should be in the streets. Block the assets, those, what you could see government has, please all sit down there and block. It's not an NLC matter. Because these persons have a bag of rice lasts for a family. I'm sure they're giving up to one bag or five bags, right? One household.
No, I have no idea.
So maybe they're even giving 10 bags. So how long after these 10 bags are you shy? It's a whole lot of a sorry case. We're looking at people that have gone to school and done elementary economics and management, and they are coming openly. And they even go beyond, they call pressmen, and they are saying these kind of things.
Participants have applauded the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center and the Open Society Foundation for a 1-day media training themed early warning and early warning response, which they refer to as being timely and professionally capable to awaken the practice of proactive and conscientious media reporting against conflict escalation. Speaking at the event held in Port Harcourt, the convener, Dr. Mrs. pointed out the importance of early warning and conflict-conscious reporting and further urged journalists and respective media to inculcate the current professional approach involved in conflict-sensitive reports as it is capable of making or destabilizing the society.
Reportage that is very conflict sensitive will help improve security within our nation. That is the reason why we have brought in the media to re-engineer, to conscientize, to create that awareness or renew that awareness within them to understand that sensitive reporting is very key to promoting peace and security. We need to begin to adopt proactive measures to improve our security system. Nigeria has been bedeviled with insecurity over the years, and from time to time it keeps evolving from one level to another level. And now we are beginning to see conflict entrepreneurs diversifying. So there is a need to quell our insecurity issues in Nigeria, and all hands has to be on deck. There is such a thing as citizens' responsibility, regardless of the platform where you find yourself. You must contribute your quota one way or the other to promote peace. Otherwise, that insecurity you think it's not within your space will eventually come and consume all of us. So you must do one thing or the other. If you find yourself in any platform that will help promote peace, you must utilize that platform to promote peace, whichever way.
Meanwhile, participants and other stakeholders expressed gratitude, citing that the training was due in order to help reduce the high rate of social conflict and the escalation from media content broadcasting.
What we came here to do is to train ourselves on conflict mechanisms on how to report issues, which is very key in the Niger Delta and in Port Harcourt. We find out that without doing a report that will slow down anger in the society, in the community, no matter how the issue is not going to be a developmental reportage. So it's very important that let all journalists be able to decipher the method of way you report your news, so that it won't aggravate, it won't anger, and it won't even overwhelm the situation. Sometimes it could be election matters, sometimes it could be conflict resolution matter like the chieftaincy tussle. Sometimes it can fall on oil spill. Sometimes it can fall on even employment issues. Sometimes it can even fall on skill issues, how to report them, so that the society can move forward. Because sometimes if you don't know how to report these matters, it can cause conflict, it can cause a lot of situation whereby instead of you to promote development, it will now cause disaffection.
The training has been fantastic. At least I've been able to understand that, we as journalists ought to imbibe the attitude of, when we're reporting, to be sensitive in what we're doing, because we have been taught that as a journalist we're equally to do developmental journalism and balance our reportage. So from this training, I can confidently say that I've been taught to think twice when reporting and to ensure that my reports are always balanced. Thank you.
Well, the significance of the event is something very great, because media people have been trained on different things, and most times relegate some important and salient things like early warning signs of conflict. But what we have done today, we did not just give them theoretical trainings of the early warning signs, but we are able to build that sign, that early warning signs, based on their different experiences in the field. So the early warning signs, we enabled them to go to sensitive, prone place and then report on conflict. And that today, with the training, we are able to know that journalists, media personnel can even mitigate conflict. They can transform conflict with the way they report. So if they report objectively, if they report with empathy, without necessarily looking at the events of war, looking at the events of destruction, and then emphasize more on humanity, gender, and how conflict is impacting on humanity. By that way, they will be able to mitigate some conflict or reduce conflict to the barest minimum.
Basically, reporting anything whatsoever on earth is hinged on rules, and the rules of engagement needed to be followed through for you to have a proper understanding of other people. What I've learned here today is that consider the people, the way they feel, their culture, their kind of emotions and all that, in your reporting, and that will make for a better society. I've also learned a lot by considering other people. You're also saving your life. So saving your life also means making other people comfortable. That's part of what I've actually learned today, basically.
The Minister of Works, Senator Dave Umahi, has suspended payments to some road construction in the southeast pending the review of the existing and additional contract. Umahi gave the directive in Enugu during the inspection of some ongoing construction and rehabilitation of federal roads across the state in the southeast, while expressing dismay that 4 bridges and 3 kilometers of additional work were costing 15 billion aid. Some of the roads inspected included the Ozala Abugo, Amangunze, Isu, Onitsha in Enugu-Onitsha Highway with a spur to Onuwere in Enugu State, done by Arab contractors, and rehabilitation of old Enugu-Onitsha Road, and also done by Arab contractors. Others were the construction of the Newe Nome Burumbu Nara Road with a spur from Obago Oduma Road in Enugu State and the rehabilitation of Nsuka Ikem Ehamufe in Kalago in Ebonyi State, among others. Umahi commended the quality of work done on some of the roads in Enugu State, adding that he ordered the suspension of certain payments until contractors and the ministry review the existing contracts and adding additional works. The former Ebonyi governor said he stopped payments of ROCC and Arab contractors until they all sit down to review the cost of the projects and methods of construction, while funding should come in the second phase to enable contractors to complete carriageways first. Defense headquarters says over 817 terrorists have been gunned down by Nigerian Army Armed Forces and other security agencies, while about 1,326 criminals have been apprehended and 721 have also been rescued from hostages across the country in the third quarter of this year. The Nigerian military also apprehended 42 kidnappers, 231 terrorist collaborators, 33 armed robbers, 80 cattle rustlers, 325 militia members, 27 rail vandals, and 73 gun runners, as well as 191 suspected oil thieves. Defense Media Operations Major General Edward Buba, who stated this in Abuja on the success of the Nigerian military in the last 3 months, has said during the period under review, a total of 4,560 terrorists and their families voluntarily surrendered to Nigerian troops in the northeast. He noted that the military operations also were able to recover 501 weapons, 3,577 livestock, 3,269 assorted types of ammunition, and 674 other equipment within the period.
During the period under review, offensive operations and airstrikes were conducted to hit these groups and the terrorists where it hurts the most. It is clear from our operations that the terrorists and their cohorts have sustained a significant number of casualties. It is certain that they will continue to sustain even more casualties as we move forward. The illusion by these groups to embark on terrorism or insurgency is indeed laughable. You may ask, why do I say so? I say so because increasingly they have become more of criminal organization, which is the reason they fight. They fight so that they can keep profiting from criminal activities such as illegal mining, kidnapping, cattle rustling, illegal levy collection from farmers and fishermen, and all other forms of criminal inclinations. Indeed, if these groups do not come to the table in peace, we will ceaselessly punish them with overwhelming military force.
Buba further said that in the northeast, troops of Operation Hardin Kai recorded success and killed 240 terrorists and arrested 276 terrorists and collaborators, while 147 kidnapped hostages were rescued, adding that 169 assaulted weapons were recovered and 1,195 different rounds of ammunition and 199 other equipment items were regained.
In the course of operations, troops of Operation Hardin Kai neutralized 240 terrorists, 276 collaborators were arrested. Troops rescued 147 kidnapped hostages. Troops also recovered 169 assorted weapons, 1,195 assorted ammunition, and 199 other equipments. The breakdown of which is as follows: 57 AK-47 rifles, 1 GPMG, 2 HK-21 rifles, 1 FN rifle, 1 G3 rifle, 1 pistol, 22 den guns.
Atlantic Television Network reporter correspondent Rotimi Adewuyi reports that Operation Well Stroke also killed 83 terrorists, arrested 104 suspects and 69 assaulted rounds of ammunition, and rescued 18 kidnapped hostages and recovered items, which included 37 weapons and 127 other items. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after the break. Welcome back to the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of our stories. Presidential election petition court in its landmark has dismissed the petitions of the Labour Party, People's Democratic Party, and the Allied People's Movement, as well as their candidates against the election of President Bola Tinubu based on findings of the tribunal. The five-man panel led by Justice Haruna Samani dismissed the petition of Mr. Obi of the Labour Party seeking to nullify Tinubu's election, and also dismissed the Allied People's Movement petition seeking to disqualify the president over the invalid nomination of his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima. The Presidential Tribunal also dismissed allegation of the Labour Party and its candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, that the 2023 presidential election was rigged in favor of President Bola Tinubu. Highlights of the judgment averred that Peter Obi of the Labour Party failed to prove rigging, overvoting, and that portions of Obi's petition were vague, imprecise, nebulous, bereft of particular materials. It also disapproved Peter Obi's petition that Shettima was validly nominated as APC's vice presidential candidate. There was no evidence that Tinubu was convicted in the U.S. for drug trafficking, and Tinubu was not indicted, arraigned, tried, or convicted in the U.S., including $460,000 for future was a civil matter, another criminal conviction. The Presidential Tribunal also reviewed in its findings that the Independent National Electoral Commission was not forced to transmit election results electronically, while on the 25% vote, it ruled that Abuja is not special as other states. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima and the National Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, has hailed the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court sitting in Abuja. Senator Shettima, who spoke with reporters after the judgment, said the judgment has shown that the voice of the people cannot be silenced, saying the democracy is the winner, urging the petitioners to join President Bola Tinubu in the task of national unity.
Well, Daniel has come to judgment. Today is a great day for Nigeria. The Nigerian judiciary had proved itself to be the guardians for justice and fairness against the sirens of deception. It's a battle between the will of the people and the forces of misinformation and disinformation. But democracy has finally triumphed. Like the bird phoenix, it rises from the ashes, resolute and unyielding. And in this age of information, discernment is our greatest armor, and unity is our strongest force. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, in this battle for the survival of the nation, in this grand symphony of democracy, your voice, your vote is the note that cannot be silent. But even in this our moment of triumph, we are not going to be triumphalists. We'll work for the unity of this nation.
The Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar's lead counsel, Chris Uche, has said the legal team has been ordered to appeal against the unanimous judgment upholding the victory of President Bola Tinubu. He made this known while briefing journalists on the decision of Atiku on the judgment. Uche, who expressed disappointment over the ruling, said his client and the legal team had expected the court would have given a verdict that would improve and encourage the use of technology in elections.
But for the constitution of this country, for the rule of law,
and for democracy.
For democracy, we were expecting an outcome that will improve, encourage the use of technology to enhance election management, to enhance transparency, to enhance accountability, so that Nigerians will believe in democracy. Nigerians will come out in their masses like they did to vote. We don't want Nigerians to be discouraged in the process. There are certain things, certain principles of law that we know that we need to explore, and we strongly believe that when we get to the Supreme Court will have the opportunity to review a number of things that have been said here today.
The Presidential Election Petition Court had delivered a 12-hour marathon judgment throwing out the petitions of the Allied People's Movement, the petitions of the People's Democratic Party and its flag bearer Atiku Abubakar, as well as the petitions of Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi. Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, led by Justice Harun Asmani on Wednesday, dismissed the claims of the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, that they won 20% of needed votes in the Federal Capital Territory. During the 2023 presidential election on February 25th, Labour Party and Obi won 25% by securing about 59% of the votes cast. Neither President Bola Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress, who got 19%, nor Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, 15%, scored up to 25% of the votes in the Nigerian capital. Ruling on the petition, the 5-man tribunal dismissed the charge, saying Abuja is like the other 36 states of the Federation. According to the tribunal, FCT residents have no special privileges, as the petitioners claimed. By reacting to the development and open conversation, a socio-political analyst and Barrister Henry Ekine faulted the ruling and gave constitutional terms difference between state and federal capital territory in relation to the verdict by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal.
The Constitution is very clear as to the federative units that compose the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and named them. Didn't just name. The schedule to the Constitution did not just name the 36 states, but actually described the 36 states, including the local governments constituting those 36 states. And they are distinct. We have just 36 states in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And then those states have local government. The states have unique features that make them to be states. And this uniqueness do not appear in the Federal Capital Territory. You have mentioned some, specifically the chief executives of the respective 36 states are governors. And they elected, whoever is to lead or head the state is elected. Then the respective states have houses of assembly to legislate for them. and then they have local government. These are unique features of states. And once these features do not exist in any other, if you like, conjecture, it means that that conjecture cannot be a state in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, the Federal Capital Territory also is clearly described in the Constitution as to even the boundaries, the land boundaries, the composition, the units in the federal capital are not even local governments, they're area councils. Why then that difference exists? For the Federal Capital Territory, there are 6 area councils. For states, there are local government councils. Now, when you get to each state, you have the executive as a governor. In the Federal Capital Territory, you don't elect any person to head the federal government, Federal Capital Territory. In that direction.
Barrister Ekene further clarified why the Federal Capital Territory is not a state, with a clear citation from the 1999 Constitution to back his claims.
And the Federal Capital Territory also is clearly described in the Constitution as to even the boundaries, the land boundaries, the composition, the units in the federal capital are not even local governments, they're area councils. Why then that difference exists? For the Federal Capital Territory, there are 6 area councils. For states, there are local government councils. Now, when you get to each state, you have the executive as a governor. In the Federal Capital Territory, you don't elect any person to head the federal government, Federal Capital Territory, in that direct regard. That's why the Constitution, down to Section 299, and between 299 and 301 of the Constitution, for liking, and you see, in simple literature, when you use the reference like or as, it's similar. It's not direct. So you cannot say Abuja is a state. It's a different thing to say Osun is a state, Rivers State is a state, Cross River is a state, Bayelsa is a state. But Abuja is like, it resembles, it is like a state. And that is why you do not have a governor for the Federal Capital Territory. But the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is elected as a president, is likened to be the governor of the Federal Capital Territory. And that's why the Constitution is clear. It says, where reference is made with respect to a state, to a governor, for the Federal Capital Territory is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Where reference is made a state with respect to legislature, to this Constitution, that's why I say it's clearly described. And it goes to tell you that the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, shall be, that's 298, shall be the capital of the Federation and the seat of government of the Federation. It is not a state. Now, Section 299 said the provisions of this Constitution apply to the Federal Capital Territory as if it were, because this is where some of those who hold that view will rely on. They say as if it were, meaning it is not.
Former President Muhammad Buhari has expressed joy over the ruling of the Presidential Elections Petition Court, confirming the victory of the All Progressives Congress. Its candidate, President Bola Tinubu, and his running mate, Vice President Kashim Shettima, in the February 25th election. In his reaction after the judgment, he said the Presidential Election Petition Court has written history by spurning intimidation and all manner of prejudice to deliver justice according to law to a majority of citizens whose wish is that the choices they made are respected. A statement issued by his spokesperson, Garba Shehu, advised that the new APC administration led by Tinubu should get the support of everyone in order to deliver the promises it made to the people, and also voiced his appreciation to all citizens for maintaining peace throughout this period and prayed for continued progress and development under the APC government. He congratulated the President, the Vice President, and the APC on the victory in court, expressing his best wishes to them in fulfilling the people's aspirations. Senate President Godswill Akpabio has described the Presidential Election Petition Court verdict as prescribe that rest on the integrity of Nigeria's electoral process. Akpabio, in a statement, lauded the court judgment, which affirmed the victory of President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima in the 2023 presidential election. He said the verdict is an affirmation of the popular mandate by Nigerians for Tinubu and Shettima at the federal February 25th presidential election, while congratulating Tinubu and Shatima on the resounding affirmation of their mandates. Akpabio said that the 5-member panel painstakingly evaluated all the issues raised by the petitioners, and despite the challenges, Nigeria's electoral process was making a steady progress and deserves the appreciation of and support of all Nigerians and friends of Nigeria. Akpabio urged Nigerians to continue to support Tinubu's government in its drive to deliver the renewed agenda of the ruling All Progressive Congress on its vindication by this well-thought-out landmark judgment, adding that the judgment has expressly affirmed the popular mandate of the Nigerian people for the APC and its presidential and vice presidential candidates are freely given at the February 2023 polls. Presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party counterpart, Peter Obi, have rejected the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal affirming the election of President Bola Tinubu. The legal advisor to the Labour Party, Kehinde Edun, vowed to challenge the judgment at the Supreme Court, while Atiku's lead counsel, Chris Uche, said he had received instructions from his client to file an appeal at the Supreme Court. The 5-member panel took turns to dismiss the petitions presented by Atiku and Obi against the declaration of Tinubu as the winner of the presidential election by the Independent National Electoral Commission on March 1st, 2023. The judgment was delivered by the chairman of the tribunal, Justice Haruna Samani, assisted by other members of the panel, Justices Stephen Adam Monsurat, Bolaji Yusuf, Moses Ugo, and Abba Mohammed. Said Atiku's petition lacks merit. The National Legal Advisor of the Labour Party, Edun, expressed disappointment with the judgment, stressing that the tribunal was unfair to reject 10 of their 13 witnesses, adding that the decision weakened their case, while stressing that the apex court will be the final arbiter. Lamidi Apapa-led faction of Labour Party has advised the presidential candidate in the February 25th presidential election not to pursue any case, saying that he will only resort to chasing a wild goose chase. The National Publicity Secretary of the faction, Abayomi Arabambi, who stated this while reacting to the verdict of the Presidential Election Tribunal, which struck out Obi's petition against the election of President Bola Tinubu, said it is a shame that the legal team of Mr. Peter Obi failed to advise him properly before going to the tribunal. While saying that the party accepted the verdict without a bias, Arabambi noted that the whole process is a waste of time. The tribunal also said that he made generic allegations of irregularities against the respondents without specifying the polling unit's alleged irregularities, and will use spreadsheet inspection reports and forensic analysis as evidence in the trial, adding that the documents promised by the petitioners were not attached to the petition and served on the respondents. And justices ruled that Obi and the Labour Party did not adequately detail the allegations of corrupt practices, vote suppression, fictitious results, and other irregularities in their petition, while the Labour Party noted without sense of purpose and in full agreement with Presidential Tribunal that strikes out report from the European Union tendered by Peter Obi from its record for not meeting the clarification guidelines. The court said it rejected the report on the ground that it was not tendered by official of the body which is the author and has custody of the document, and also that Peter Obi lawyers were aware that the actual copy of the report was earlier in line with all extant law. That same report had earlier been tendered by Atiku Abubakar and PDP while prosecuting their petition before the tribunal. The Labour Party has also affirmed that as a law-abiding party, the party accepts the verdict and will be going back to the drawing board to know where it went wrong. Former Vice President and the standard bearer of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, says his party only lost the war after the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, but the war is not over. That his party only lost a fight, but the war is not over. Atiku, who disclosed this during a briefing, reacted to the verdict on the 5-man panel led by Justice Haruna Samani, which upheld the victory of President Bola Tinubu. In response, Atiku said, at the PDP headquarters in Abuja, he shall win the war of restoring confidence and restoring hope in the electoral system, adding that his decision to go to court is anchored on the belief that the court is a sanctuary of justice. Consequently, Atiku also said he has advised his lawyers to activate his constitutional guaranteed right of appeal to the higher court, which in this instance is the Supreme Court, upon the conviction that the electoral process in Nigeria should be devoid of untidy manipulations and that the outcome of every election should be a perfect reflection of the wishes of the electorate. He expressed that the only way through which democracy can have a manifest expression of its true meaning will record its efforts in ensuring an order of credible elections in Nigeria to remain for the future generations to evaluate. The People's Democratic Party has rejected the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Court, which affirmed the election of President Bola Tinubu. In a statement issued after the court's ruling by Debo Ologunagba, National Publicity Secretary said he had an initial review of the judgment as delivered by the Presidential Election Petition Court and unequivocally rejected the said judgment in its entirety and against the facts and evidence presented in court. The statement also said the PDP is against relevant electoral laws, guidelines, and regulations, as well as the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, adding that the judgment is generous in technicalities and every short in delivering substantial justice in the matter. It also said the PDP, as a law-abiding political party, will urge the lawyers to have a comprehensive review of the judgment and decide on the next line of action within the ambit of the law. The PDP calls on Nigerians to remain at alert, calm, and united as the party continues to lead the charge to defend the democracy and ensure that the will of the people, as expressed in the February 25, 2023 presidential election, is respected and restored. Former Senator Ben Murray Bruce has advised petitioners to put the country's interest above any self-interest or personal ambition. Murray Bruce, while reacting to the judgment by the tribunal, posted on his X page, stated that petitioners should accept the ruling of the court as a people's verdict and that the elections do not have to end in court, adding that once elections have been held and a winner is announced, the Jonathan Doctrine should be accepted by the people's verdict in the interest of democracy and the nation. He also said Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the duly elected and undisputed president of Nigeria, and this judgment should settle all questions and erase all doubts, and commend the judges of the Presidential Election Petition Court for doing a challenging job exceptionally well. Coincidentally, the verdict is coming as the president marks 100 days in office that have been eventful, effective, and decisive. House of Representatives is demanding the investigation of the brutal murder of a student of the Federal University, Oye Ekiti at Atanda Modukbe Dabra. A statement signed by the spokesperson of this House of Representatives, Honorable Akin Rotimi, representing Ekiti North in Ikole, Oye Federal Constituency, said the 200-level student of the institution had gone to study in the evening of September 4 and was reportedly missing on the same day before she was subsequently found dead in a shallow grave on September 6. Rotimi further called on the government of Ekiti State, relevant security agencies and stakeholders in the community to collaborate to fish out the culprits and bring them to book. The lawmaker further encouraged anyone with useful information related to the case to contact the Nigerian police force to assist in their investigations with the collective efforts of the community that justice can be swiftly served and a sense of security restored. And here is the business news for tonight. House of Representatives has summoned the Ministers of Finance, Trade and Investment, the Accountant General of the Federation, Head of Service and other stakeholders to appear before the Investigative Committee. Chairman of the other committee disclosed this on a failed mass transit schemes across the country. Honorable Afam Ogene ruled on Wednesday in Abuja during the resumed hearing by the committee, but observed that key ministries and agencies failed to appear despite receiving notices from the clerk of the committee 1 week to take up. Reacting to these developments on ATM blowout, Public Affairs Analyst Chuba Okbuzo questioned the level of accountability at the end of the unending cycle of probes while no one is held accountable.
Ordinary Nigerian, it's just like a vicious circle. Nothing really is coming out of any of all of this. For crying out loud, if for this lengthy period of time, people have not been able to say this is what they did with all the funds that were allocated to them in respect to the transportation, field transportation process, it is pertinent and disturbing that we all know that this is what it is today. This is where we find ourselves. And on top of all of this, we are equally saddled with the responsibility of coming out to prove something that people were giving contracts for as long as, if you look at it from the time, if you want to go back, we're looking at about 8 to 10 years probe we're talking about here. But the truth remains that it is not about the probes, it's not about the committees. For me, it is about accountability and what comes out of it. We have been in this country where people went out to Belgium, got us bad fuel, bad refined products that damaged the engines of the vehicles of Nigerians, damaged the engines and the plans of commuters, and nothing transpired. Nobody was sacked. Nobody. And look, we have not punished bad behavior as a country. We have always applauded them. We have always patted them in the back. They've always been this connectivity of party government. And this is another committee for me that is one like all of.
Comrade Uzo also criticized the committees for failing to hold accountable persons found culpable of corruption, citing that it would serve as a deterrent to others who would presume the business as usual to lavish and embezzle public funds.
Look, it's not about writing, communiques. It's not about coming out to say these are resolutions or resolves or findings. What happens to the resolutions, communiques, and findings? If nothing happens to them over time and people understand that they could still barefaced monies, look at how Mongos were looking at, how much we're looking at across the nation because of failed transportation process. And in the midst of all of this, it will just go like nothing happened. These old persons that are going to be invited, at the end of the day, nothing will happen to them. The discussion ends here. It ends on the social media platform. Nothing happens to anybody. Nobody's going to be fired. So at the end of the day, somebody would equally have the boldness and temerity once again to collect such funds from government, come up with very, very good white paper presentations. And when these funds are allocated, they go and sit where they have to sit, share these monies. It is always in our faces. Like we're talking about all of this. The houses have come back again from whatever recessions they've gone. However, the communiques that have been written and all the hula baloo we have tried to raise, the government has allocated 40 billion for exotic cars for the principal officers of the legislative arm. We have still allocated 70 billion for the palliative, for the legislative arm. And whereas the entire Nigerian people will be sharing how much. So whether you like it or yes, this is our present normal. And until something happens, like I used to use the phrase, magic wand, trust me, we're just going to be running around future circles. And for me, it's not the best for us to, it's not the best strategy for us to.
Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has criticized Owando PLC's acquisition of Nigerian Ajib Oil Company offshore land assets in Nigeria. The deal involving oil mining lease OML 60, 61, 62, and 63 was struck to enable Ajib and his subsidiary to escape from increasing exposure to challenges while providing Owando the opportunity to grow its assets based in the Niger Delta. In a letter to the managing director of Nigerian Ajib Oil Company and the Chief Operating Officer of Owando Oil Limited, NNPC Limited, stated that there has been various reports circulated on different media platforms concerning an alleged divestment of NAOC participating in the OML mentioned above to Owando Oil Limited. A statement allegedly emanating from Owando Oil Limited dated 4th September 2023 affirms that NAOC has assigned its entire 20% participating interest. National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency says Nigeria lost about 335 million naira to oil spilled between January and August 2023. NOSDRA, in its oil spill data for the period under review, said a total of 168 incidents of oil spill incidents, which cost the country loss of 5,520 barrels of crude oil in 8 months, were recorded against oil companies operating in the country, going by an average price for crude oil within the period of $82 per barrel and the Central Bank of Nigeria's exchange rate of 740 per dollar, while the estimated amount the country lost to oil spill within the period under review was 335 million naira. The agency noted that the spill occurred in the facilities of 23 oil firms, with Shell Petroleum Development Company recording the highest spill volume of 4,340 barrels of crude oil in 43 spills incidents, representing 78.62% of total crude oil spilled in the period under review. Furthermore, NOSRA reported that 5,122 barrels of crude oil, representing 92.78% of oil spilled in the 8 months period, was a result of thefts and sabotage, while 228.22 barrels of crude oil spilled in 16 incidents were due to corrosion, adding that 2,402 barrels of crude oil were spilled on land, 2,378 barrels of crude oil were spilled on swampy terrain, and 522.01 barrels of crude oil were spilled on seasonal swampy terrain. Oil firms have continuously battled oil spill incidents in their host communities, most of which have lingered and have led to the loss of billions of dollars in revenue for the country. You're still watching news on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back. Here is the international tidbit. The man identified as Dennis Kazungu has been arrested in Rwanda after the discovery of more than 10 bodies buried in a hole in the kitchen of his home in the capital, Kigali, police and media reports said on Wednesday. Police said the 34-year-old suspected serial killer had lured his victims, most of which were sex workers, from bars to his rented home in a Kigali suburb. Reports said more than 10 bodies had been found, and a source in the Rwandan Investigation Bureau told reporters on condition of anonymity that the number of victims so far was 14. Our spokesman Thierry Murangira declined to confirm a figure, telling AFP that the final number will be determined by investigations. The suspect had initially been arrested in July on suspicion of robbery and rape, among other offenses, but was granted bail due to a lack of evidence. He said, quoted by local media, investigations continued, however, and he was rearrested on Tuesday and his home searched, leading to the discovery of the bodies dumped in a pit he had dug in his kitchen. Reacting to development on international tidbit, International Affairs analyst Judge Kingsley Papamie condemned prostitution as an act of desecration against womanhood.
Generally, looking at it from the moral aspect of the society, is a desecration of the womanhood. It's a desecration. But because we have seen the society grow from its stage to a more complex situation, most people have put themselves into a situation where they do things on their own without looking at the sanctity of the world. And in some, globally, in most countries, they are legal. In most countries, the legality is limited, while in most countries, the legality is.
Judge Papamie also condemned the killing of the woman by the suspect, which is against the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and should therefore be tried in the International Criminal Court of Justice.
It must stop, it must stop. But for this man that has gone beyond the proportion of taking human life, by the pronouncements of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, he has taken lives, all right? And therefore, he is subject to be tried by the International Tribunal. It's an International Criminal Tribunal because it's a criminal offense. Taking somebody's life or taking people's lives is criminal. So for the man who has gone beyond the proportion of taking people's lives because maybe he has been offended by one way or the other, he is liable to be tried in the criminal court of justice. And if it's going to be tried with the criminal court of justice, that means that people need to understand that they don't have the right to take people's lives, because here in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it's all about freedom, right? Human dignity and freedom. The women have seen that since they don't have husbands to marry, since they don't have things to do, this is what they want to do, all right? You need to give them their way, all right? That's what we're talking about. But that they must know that the society needs morality, all right? Morality is what will shape the society. Otherwise, if you, as a woman, you are married to somebody and after taking pains and all the rest, and then you are bringing women, and if a woman has 10 girls in the house, 10 girls in the house, she expects that at least out of the 10, 8 should be married. But in these circumstances, if all go into prostitution, then what's the gain of the society? The society is messed up. All right? So what we're saying is that morality should be maintained, because that is what the international standard requires for every society. All right? But for this man that has gone beyond going to take people's lives, burying them in his house or in his kitchen, it is all about criminal justice system. He needs to undergo the criminal justice system to try him and to make sure that he is convicted to the maximum penalty of the law. Because he ought to know if there is any, if they have committed any offense, what he has to do as a person is to call for the police to arrest them. All right? He has the right to arrest them for seeing the illegality, all right, in the environment or in the circumstances, and not to take people's lives. So taking people's lives, he has desecrated the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and that is a taboo, and in fact, an aberration of the law. All right, and therefore he should be tried, he should be convicted, and in fact, other people who are in such circumstances should.
President Bola Tinubu at the African Climate Summit in Kenya says Nigeria requires an annual investment of $17.7 billion to meet the unconditional target in the country's nationally determined contributions, adding that Nigeria's energy transition plan requires $10 billion per annum, and NDC is a climate action plan nations have put together to cut emissions and adapt to climate impact. The president, who is represented by Dr. Ishaq Salako, Minister of State for Environment, added that Nigeria's energy transition plan requires $1.9 trillion in spending up to 2016. Speaking at the high-level leaders event of the Africa Climate Summit, he said in Nigeria it has articulated the unchanging position to advance climate action without jeopardizing economic development, while designing an ambitious energy transition plan to achieve universal access to energy by 2030 and net zero emissions by 2060 in prioritizing industrialization, job creation, and economic growth. Significantly, the plan helps to crystallize the scale of resources needed to deliver climate targets so that the current financial flows will not suffice, adding that Nigeria's energy transition plan requires $1.9 trillion in spending up to 2060, including $410 billion above business as usual spending, with additional financing, which requirement translates to about $10 billion per annum, but average international financing flows to Nigeria for clean energy of about $655 per year over the past decade. The Africa Climate Summit, alongside the African Climate Week 2023, involves government and policymakers, practitioners, business and civil society on climate issues. Gabonese military leaders have freed the overthrown President Ali Bongo from house arrest, where he has been since they seized power last week, Wednesday. The military junta also gave Bongo permission to travel abroad for medical checkups. Bongo had suffered a stroke in 2018, and his health was a major source of concern for many in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election. Shortly after the coup, Bongo managed to release a video calling on supporters around the world to make noise, while the military seized the power shortly after he was declared the winner of that election disputed by the opposition. The country's military spokesperson, Colonel Ulrich Mafombi, announced Bongo's freedom, adding that the decision to free Bongo was due to his state of health, adding that he may, if he wishes, travel abroad for medical checkups. Bongo had been in power in the oil-rich country since 2009, when he succeeded his father, who had ruled the country for 41 years, while the leader of the coup d'etat in Gabon, General Brice Oligui, was sworn in as the country's interim president on Monday. He promised to return the country to civilian rule after a free and fair election, but did not give a timeline for the process, and the coup has been widely condemned in Africa and the West, including by France, the former colonial power, which had close ties to Bongo family. Gabon has been suspended from the African Union. The military government had earlier released other political prisoners, including pro-democracy activists and leader of the most powerful trade union confederation, Jean Remy Yama. Japan has successfully launched a rocket with a lunar lander at its fourth try this year. After previous attempts were foiled by bad weather, the lander, dubbed the Moon Sniper, is expected to attempt a moon landing in February if all goes well. Japan has since failed to reach the lunar surface in the past year amid setbacks for its space program, and it is bidding to become only the fifth country to land on the moon after the US, Russia, China, and India. 2 weeks ago, India made history when it successfully landed a spacecraft near the south pole of the moon, while the Japanese spacecraft is projected to land within 100 meters of a location near the Shoalhaven crater or on the near side of the moon. It is expected to enter the moon's orbit within 4 months. It will then spend a month cycling the moon before attempting a landing in February, and the $100 million mission is meant to demonstrate Tokyo's ability to land a lightweight, low-cost spacecraft on the moon. The United States has declared it will send controversial weapons to Ukraine as part of more than $1 billion in military and humanitarian aid. Russia condemned the move to equip U.S. Abrams tanks with shells strong enough to pierce conventional tank armor. They made depleted uranium, a byproduct of uranium enrichment, is stripped of most radioactive material, while suspected Ukrainian drone attacks were reported on the Russian city of Rostov-on-Don and near Moscow. According to Governor Vasily Golubev, unconfirmed video showed what appeared to be a blast in central Rostov, where, while one person was slightly injured and several cars were damaged. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said a drone that targeted the town of Ramenskoye had also been shot down and no damage reported. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby has described them as a commonplace type of munition. German prosecutors have arrested 2 Syrians suspected of belonging to foreign terrorist organizations, including the alleged leader of a rebel group which joined the Islamic State, Ahmed A. and Basel O-Were, detained in Kiel and Munich and placed in pre-trial detention while being alleged to have founded the Liwa Jund al-Rahman in 2013 in the Syrian province of Deir ez-Zor fighters that were engaged in hostilities against the Syrian army. In June 2013, Army A fighters joined other jihadist groups in an attack on the eastern village of Hatlat that killed up to 60 Shiite residents, while survivors were forced to flee by intentionally stoking fears of death, either by means of arson and looting. Ahmed A is suspected of having committed a war crime by means of forced displacement that meant the end of all Shiite presence in Hatla. While in 2014, Ahmed A joined the Islamic Jihadist group and placed his fighters and financial resources under Islamic Authority, and is alleged to have held up a prominent military position in Ahmed A's organization in 2013 to 14. The suspect commanded combat units that fought Syrian troops, notably at Deir ez-Zor's military airfield, while Germany has arrested several Syrians on its soil over crimes committed in their country. One of the most high-profile cases to be brought to the trial was that of a former Syrian colonial who was, in January 2022, found guilty of crimes against humanity committed in Damascus. And here is entertainment news for tonight. Non-governmental organization Mumaji Foundation has called on the Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara to look closely towards harnessing young talent in the state. The convener and chairperson of the NGO Muma Gift Eke popularly known as Mumaji, spoke on the need to build talents across the 23 local government areas in Rivers State, while unveiling her forthcoming event tagged the African Talent Pool during a media parley held at the complex of Nigerian Union of Journalists in Port Harcourt. Mumaji called on renowned entertainers to come home and build talent for the future generations.
Well-meaning, as the law would describe, well-meaning individuals in the society will partner with community heads like the CDC chairman, family heads, traditional rulers to reach the nitty-gritty of the cocoa areas where we need to. Yes, because if we wait for money, bros, we won't do anything. I don't wait money tired for many years. You know what? And government most of the time too busy to even look inside. So we don't go look government. But I thank God for the government of Sinala. It's looking like a government that will consider human capital development, and this is where we are.
Actress Mumaji further decried the activities of the Nigerian youth who are involved in drug abuse, prostitution, amongst others, stressing that the African Talent Pool initiative will help reshape the mindset of Rivers youth against social vices.
I know that most LGs are 13 words. Let's put 13 words together. And we have some of the words, each word has like 4 villages on the max or on the minimum. So judging from one person per village, because we can't clean ourselves for starters. I know be this kind of person where they do it, you know they feel do. If each person benefits from each village, we will get 4 persons per ward. And if we get 4 persons per ward times 13, because it's 52 persons per LGA with a target.
On his part, the Rivers State chairman of NUJ, Stanley Job Stanley, commended Mumaji for the vision in reforming the society and vowed to always partner with the organization in events that will better the society. Award-winning Nigerian singer Temilade Obeniyi, popularly known as Thames, has bagged 2 awards. Thames was a recipient of the Trailblazer Award at the Elle Style Awards in London, United Kingdom, and the Gong by BAFTA winning actress Naomi Aki. Meanwhile, Thames was also named the Songwriter of the Year at the 2023 BMI R&B Hip Hop Awards held at the Live nightclub in Miami Beach. She was recognized for her songwriting credits on Free Mind, Rihanna's Lift Me Up, and featuring Drake's Waits for You. Stand-up comedian Ogane Kewoyan Onaibe Desmond, popularly known as The Stalker, has accused his senior colleagues Basketmouth and Gordons of being against his growth in the comedy industry. According to him, his name was struck out in the past with some prospective sponsors referencing his senior colleagues. He queried how a comedian who has bagged the title of Best Comedian for 5 years could not get sponsors for his shows. On allegations that he is using voodoo, The Stalker said, "Everybody wants to be successful and his dream will become successful." Here now is the ATN Sports News. Sao Tome and Principe have arrived in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State capital, for their 2023 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The True Patriots arrived at the Victor Atta International Airport with 21 players, coaches, and officials of the Sao Tome and Principe Football Federation making the trip. Sao Tome and Principe will take on the Super Eagles at the Gospel Akpabio International Stadium, Uyo, on Sunday, while the True Patriots occupy the bottom spot in Group A and will be playing for Pride. They were battered 10-0 by the Super Eagles in the reverse fixture. Confederation of African Football has congratulated Victor Osimhen on his nomination for 2023 Ballon d'Or. Osimhen made the list of nominees released on Wednesday night by the organizers. The Napoli man made history as the first Nigerian to be nominated for the Ballon d'Or, while 29 other players were on the shortlist. Osimhen contributed 26 goals to Napoli's title success last season. Nigeria forward Victor Boniface has been nominated for Bundesliga Player of the Month for August. Boniface will battle Bayern Munich duo Harry Kane and Alphonso Davies, as well as Wolfsburg striker Jonas Wind, Union Berlin's Kevin Behrens, Behrens and RB Leipzig defender Benjamin Henrichs for the award. The 22-year-old scored 2 goals and provided 1 assist in 2 appearances for Leverkusen in August. The striker is also in the running for Bundesliga Rookie of the Month award, while Nigerian-born goalkeeper Noah Atubolu and RB Leipzig's Xavier Simons are the other players nominated for the award. Boniface has so far scored 4 goals and registered 1 assist in 3 league appearances for the week self, and he has linked up with Xabi Alonso's side for Belgian Pro League club Union Saint-Gilloise this summer. And that's the global news for tonight. But before we go, here is another look at the major stories. Ondo State Governor Keridolu returns from medical leave. Christian Association of Nigeria advises Nigerians on peace over tribunal judgments. Atiku Obi plan appeal over presidential election judgments. Rep summons a finance minister over failed mass transportation. Gabon coup leaders free ousted President Ali Bongo. Singer Thames wins L-Style Hip Hop Awards. Sao Tome arrive Uyo for Super Eagles clash. I'm Vivian Douglas. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms. On X, we're Atlantic TV Net. On Facebook and YouTube, we're Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Good night.